Catechists of the parishes across the Diocese of Boya continue a one-week retreat at Birokol here in Boya. The retreat that ends on August 2nd looks at the ministry of the catechists in the church. Reverend Father Anselm Kebi, Diocesan Youth Chaplain, calls on members of St. Stephen Guild to keep a positive mindset in serving God. That was over the weekend in Mutengene. And today is International Day Against Human Trafficking. Focus of this 10th edition is on the fight against trafficking in children. We find out more about this day in today's newscast. Those were our headlines, the news and details right ahead. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on Divine Mercy Prime, this 30th day of July 2024. I am Sama Eileen for presentation. Catechists of parishes across the Diocese of Boya are currently taking part in an annual retreat to refresh them for their works. This has taken place at the Bishop Rogan Minor Seminary in Small Sopo. This year's retreat is centered on the ministry of the catechists in the church. Aloysius Lekie tells us more about this retreat.
Catechists drawn from the 7 deaneries that make up the 40 parishes across the Diocese of Boya are meeting at the Bishop Rogan College Small Sopo for their annual retreat. These catechists from the various small Christian communities, mission stations and parishes have come to share experiences and build their capacity as they gather to pray and deepen their knowledge on the Catechism of the Catholic Church and other doctrines. Reverend Father Theophile Seka is the chaplain for catechists in the Diocese of Boya and preacher for this year's retreat.
We have come on our annual retreats for catechists in the Diocese of Boya, from SCCs to mission stations to parishes. And it's a wonderful time. It's an annual event that the catechists take some time off their routine and their daily duties to come to be with the Lord, to rest, to refresh themselves, and also for ongoing formation. And so these days have been very enriching with their shared experiences and encouragements from the preacher. I happen to be the preacher for this retreat, and I'm very much pleased with the participation from the 7 deaneries and from all from most of the parishes out of the 40 parishes in the Diocese of Boya. It's our prayer and wish that whatever we share in this retreat, we'll be able to renew them, to boost them, to encourage and to strengthen them in this ministry of catechists.
The theme for this year's retreat is centered on the ministry of the catechists, and these men and women, after spending some days at the retreat, says the theme is timely as they have gained new knowledge about the role and ministry of the catechists.
For our one-week retreat, and the theme of the retreat is called to the ministry. I think for these 2 days, we have had lectures on how to go on with our job and how to bring up our spiritual life. So, from what we are getting from our facilitators, they're going to help us to improve in our work in our various parishes and to see how to coordinate and bring up our Christians to the way of the church.
This year touched me a lot. The team for the retreat is talking about the ministry of catechists. Well, to build up to my own understanding and make me to understand that I need to learn more about the catechist work. This is my year of coming in to know certain things that I don't know.
Yes, this is my second time to attend this retreat. I'm very well pleased. I will also extend my greeting to my parish priest, Father Josh Ngumba, to enable us to come and witness the retreat. In fact, the retreat was very nice in the way that the theme last year was come and rest to a quiet place. And this year, the theme was a call to be a ministry as a catechist. So in fact, I was very pleased because I was thinking that catechist in the SCC doesn't have a place, but with the information today, I know that the catechist has their place and they are the president of the Small Christian Community where I belong.
They spend time to pray and recollect. They will leave back to their various parishes and mission stations refreshed, and Christians are called upon to give them the necessary support they all need to carry on with the ministry of the catechist.
More catechesis on the right for the administration of the sacrament of baptism has been delivered. The weekly catechetical televised session by the proper teacher of the Catholic faith in the Diocese of Buea, His Lordship Michael Bibi, took place 29th July 2024. The prelate clarified a lot of aspects on how the rite unfolds regarding the sacrament in the baptism. This took place at St. Charles Luanga Parish, Moliko, Buea, yesterday. Details right ahead with Reverend Father Martin Jemoka.
Another succinct revision on the sacrament of baptism was taken by the teacher of the Catholic faith, His Lordship Michael Bibi, Bishop of Buea, in today's televised catechetical program, Know Your Faith. This was at St. Charles Luanga Parish, Moliko, and still in the context of the sanctifying office of the church. The teacher focused his teaching today on the administration of the sacrament of baptism. The sanctifying office of the church is brought about in the celebration of the liturgy, with the Holy Mass being the high point in which the sacraments are administered. The prelate noted that it is good to bring into awareness the right for the administration of the sacrament of baptism to the Christian faithful, since baptism remains the gateway to the reception of the other sacraments. He expatiated on the elements that constitute the rite of baptism, and the first thing to be considered is naming of the person to be baptized. A name given to a candidate for baptism must not have for any reason anti-Christian sentiments.
When you go for the administration of the sacrament of baptism, the first thing that the minister wants to find out from you is which name do you want to give your child? It's interesting when this question is asked often. You see that even godparents, they don't know the name of the child that they are coming to stand behind for the child to receive baptism. So what will be your name again? Begin name now. So those are things that before the time for doctrine and the preparation, we should know all of this. We should not see the child only that morning that the child is to be baptized. We should know the name of the child. And of course, the church at the beginning always encouraged that the name of the child must be after a saint.
The prelate then proceeded to mention the importance of the need to fill the baptism register, which is the responsibility of the parish priest. And he underlined the fact that the baptism card is issued to the persons concerned immediately after the celebration of the sacrament. He then highlighted 3 different situations where special remarks are expected to be made as relevant information marking the baptism of a person, that is, witnessing baptism as a non-Catholic, situation of baptism in danger of death, and that of an adopted child. The teaching and learning opportunity afforded to the Christian faithful was marked with lots of questions and answers from the very attentive and active audience. The following remarks were given by the faithful at the end of the session.
I've attended just 2 of the doctrines from my Lord, and I think my impressions are great. First of all, there are many little things that we as Catholics, even if we are somewhere where people don't even understand and they asked us those questions, we would have been able to answer or might have given wrong answers. But I think this doctrine is so enriching, and that is why I appreciate it.
I've learned a lot, especially when it comes to baptism and related issues, be it sponsors issues and the type of baptism as well. So I'm very happy I am going back as a fulfilled person.
The catechesis by the bishop is very enlightening, and what I learned today is, in case of danger of somebody who wants to die, who is about to die, of course I will be able to baptize the person, and baptize the person validly as the prescriptions of the church. So, and that's very important. I've never known a situation like that if I come across. And one never knows. One goes around the streets, people are dying, accidents and so on. In a case like that, what do you do? So that is very enlightening, and I think those who are not attending or not watching it on TV on Mondays, I think it's a time for them to make an effort.
The Christian faithful, the diocese, and the world at large all look forward to another interesting session of teaching and discovery of the Catholic faith with the Lord Bishop next week, God willing.
Moving on, members of the St. Stephen Guild of the Diocese of Buea have been urged to uphold a positive mindset in their service to God. The call was made by Youth Chaplain Reverend Father Anselm Kebi during the closing of their 4-day diocesan rally, which took place from Thursday, July 25 to Sunday, July 28, 2024 at Repakol Mutengene. This year's rally, termed around Psalms 119, focused on seeking divine guidance and adhering to God's commands. Naresh Meh reports.
From July 25th to July 28, 2024, St. Stephen Guild members gathered at Repakol Mutengene for their annual diocesan rally, embracing the theme, "Take me away from the wrong path, and in your goodness, teach me your laws and commands." This 4-day event saw altar servers from the 40 parishes across the 7 deaneries of the Diocese of Buea converge to showcase their talent and engage in communal activities. The diocesan chaplain, Reverend Father Anselm Kebi, during his homily, urged the servers to maintain a positive mindset in their service to God. He explained that the theme was inspired by Psalms 119 and was conveyed through various sessions, including prayer, homilies, and talks.
Theme of this come together, which was taken from Psalm 119, that take me away from the wrong path, and in your goodness, teach me your law and your commands. And I think that theme was driven into their ears through the homilies, through the talks they had, through the prayer sessions they had, and even in their various activities, the drama and the rest was in line with that theme.
The rally was a vibrant blend of traditional dances, singing, exhibition, and discussions. Father Anselm Kebi described this year's diocesan rally as the most successful of his 3 years as chaplain.
I think it has been a fruitful come together for all the servers. I think this is my 3rd year now as the diocesan youth chaplain. Of all the come togethers I've had, I think this one has been top. It has been up there. The servers were very disciplined and they comport themselves and took part in all the activities that we were expecting them to take part in. The liturgy, they led the liturgy, they are also good in music, but they made the effort. You could see them trying to do their best to make sure that this come together was a wonderful one.
President of St. Stephen Guild, Chidi Valentine, at the end of the rally, encouraged the servers to continue their dedication to the church, echoing the theme preached during the homily.
We are encouraging them to continue to live up to the faith and to continue sacrificing in serving the church, as it was being preached today during the homily. Let's continue to sacrifice our time and everything so that at the end of this life we'll be able to make ourselves in heaven.
Highlight during the come together was the Bayangi dance, which according to the attendees captured the essence of the gathering success. The St. Stephen Guild's diocesan rally, which brought close to 100 servers in the diocese, concluded with palpable excitement among the altar servers, marking another successful diocesan event.
To Manfei Diocese now, young Christian students drawn from 10 parishes in the Diocese of Manfei have successfully ended their rally with a call for them to continue in the light of the doctrine and faith of the Church. The call was made by the Diocesan Youth Chaplain, Reverend Father Stephen Awunglefak, this July 2024. Joseph Otop has more.
Gathered once more this July 2024 at the Holy Trinity Parish Ekok are the young Christian students of the Diocese of Mamfe for the closing of the 3rd edition of their annual diocesan rally. This year's edition brought together 249 young Christian students from 10 parishes in the Diocese of Mamfe, that is the St. Joseph Cathedral, Banya, Bacho Akebe, Kembong, Ogomoko, Osing, Chang, Ekok, Beme, Guti, and Afap. These young Christian workers showcase their talent in various activities like debate, dance competitions, fashion parade, brain box, spiritual tags, amongst a host of others. Meanwhile, these workers of the church equally had the opportunity of meeting and being addressed for the first time by the incoming diocesan youth chaplain, Reverend Father Stephen Awunglefak, in which he encouraged them to be preachers of the word and continue working for the church. The rendezvous is therefore taken for the 4th edition as these young student workers will once again converge as one.
On to this sad one, the Bishop of Boya Diocese, His Lordship Michael Bibi, has called on family members, friends, Christians, and mourners at the funeral of late Mbu Nelson Eyeni to prepare themselves for death in order not to be taken by surprise. The local ordinary of Boya Diocese sent across this message over the weekend in Bota Limbe while officiating a funeral mass to lay to rest the late diplomat. Details right ahead. The United Nations personnel Mbu Nelson Eyeni has been described as a committed Catholic Christian, a selfless and generous individual who impacted the lives of not only his family and friends, but Christians of Holy Trinity Parish, Bota, where he usually worshipped before his passing. The Bishop of Boya Diocese, His Lordship Michael Bibi, was speaking Saturday, July 27, 2024 in Limbe while officiating the funeral mass to lay the late diplomat to rest. The prelate also prayed for the repose of the soul of Nelson Eyeni while urging all Christians to be ready for death as no one knows the hour, drawing inspiration from the Gospel of the day taken from Matthew 24 verse 37 to 44.
We should never take death for granted. Death is a reality for each and every one of us. As to when we shall die, that is knowledge that we do not possess. But for certain, we know that it will happen. We all have a duty and responsibility, therefore, to prepare ourselves for our own death, so that death should never take us by surprise. The church teaches us in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 1014, that we should prepare ourselves for the hour of our death.
For his friends and family who gathered to give him their final respect and befitting funeral, the passing of Nelson Eyeni remains a shock as he wasn't ill before his demise, as well as a big loss to all who knew the kind-hearted, intelligent, vibrant and selfless diplomat. Maggie Fontu is a relative.
He was a very kind-hearted man, very generous. To be honest, for the family, it's a very big loss, very big grief, and my wish is, and what I'm asking everybody to do, is to pray for this family because they need to heal. And you know, sometimes if somebody, we'll all die someday, but it's just the shock of the manner in which he left, which is going to be much more devastating. It's hard to deal with for the family. So I think we all, the family in particular, we need prayers.
Let's now listen to these excerpts of his friends narrating who the late Nelson Eyeni was.
Around 2017-2019, that's where I knew Mr. Eyeni as a young, vibrant elite, whom even despite the crisis that was hitting at that time, he came close to me and we worked together to encourage young people to come out from the bushes, to encourage young people to join activities that can generate revenue, to look for a solution to calm down the crisis as it was coming up. He had, as a good elite, his own compound in Gucci, in which he received me, and we had a long discussion where he made me to know that he worked with the UN. And I started calling him a diplomat, my excellency. Even in my phone, I was also having his name like diplomat. After Nguchi, when I was transferred now to Limbe, once more I came across him as somebody, a citizen living in Limbe 2 subdivision at Karata. Since then, we have had a very cordial relationship. We call ourselves brother. I'm seeing him going like this, it's a shock. I want to say, may his gentle soul rest in perfect peace.
He was a very generous somebody. He was a very generous son whose own life was just to give smiles to people. And then at the later part of his life, he told me, Daddy, I want to be like you in the CMA, and I want to serve God in the fullest of my capacity. So you could imagine that was just what Nelson gave everything to God, and today you just saw that's what we just had to do to recognize him and to ask God to open more ways for him.
Bu Nelson Ayeni was born in 1968 and died at the age of 56. Before his demise, he was working with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. He leaves behind his wife, 4 kids, siblings, other family members, friends, and the entire Christian community to mourn him. You're welcome back. Now, this day, 30th July, is observed worldwide as the International Day Against Trafficking in Persons. This year's slogan is "Leave no child behind in the fight against human trafficking." Trafficking in person is a serious act that has affected not just children and women, but also men who get to suffer from it nowadays. Jamilatu Tongtang took interest in this International Day instituted by the United Nations and now tells us more.
Every July 30th is observed and celebrated worldwide as World Day Against Trafficking in Person. The theme for this year is tagged "Leave no child behind" in the fight against human trafficking. For the past decade, children and women have experienced not just human trafficking, but also lots of violations during the process, from sexual abuse to forced labor, begging, illegal adoption, and many other undescribable activities.
Then she told us the rules here is, because they normally write rules on the wall, you must sleep with 20 men every day. And if you do not do that, you collect cane for it. Each cane is 500. And each one man is 1,000. So I had no option. I agreed. She doesn't feed us. You have to feed yourself. It was being hell for us, but I thank God.
Men, unlike before, increasingly suffer trafficking at their different levels, like the children and the women.
In my almost 3 years in NAPTIP, we've only had one case of sexual exploitation of a man. And I remember reading his petition, and you could feel, you could feel the pain through the petition. He told his story, how he ended up in that brothel, and how every morning he's giving an injection. So that injection, we give him, he has an erection for like hours, and is made to have sex with about 15, 20 women a day. And he did that for about 4 months, and it was actually one of his clients, a woman, who facilitated his escape from that place and came back to Nigeria.
According to Ghana Wali, the United Nations Executive Director for the Office of Drug and Crime, the aftermath on human trafficking on children is very much torturing, as it haunts them for the rest of their lives.
Human trafficking leaves deep scars, and when the victims are children, those scars can come to define the rest of their lives. This year's theme for World Day Against Trafficking in Persons focuses on child victims, which have tripled over the past 15 years. According to UNODC data, children account for more than a third of victims detected globally.
Trafficking in person is a serious crime that not only damages the psychology and life of an individual, but equally extends to destroying the stability of beautiful homes. Such must be combated by all at their different levels and capacities.
Onto our foreign page, dozens of Wagner mercenaries have been killed and 2 others taken captive by jihadis and rebels over the weekend in northern Mali. An analyst described the incident as the largest battleground blow to the shadowy Russian group in years, and a frantic search continues for survivors after mudslides in southern India claimed the lives of at least 49 people. India's weather department has put Kerala on alert as the state has been lashed by incessant rains. Get the details of these international stories and more in the upcoming report. Rescuers in India continue to pull people from debris on Tuesday, July 30, after multiple landslides triggered by torrential rains in southern India killed 49. Many others are feared trapped under the debris, officials said Tuesday, with rescue operations being hampered by bad weather. The landslides hit hilly villages in Kerala State's Wayanad district early Tuesday and destroyed many houses and a bridge, but authorities are yet to determine the full scope of the disaster. Television visuals showed rescue workers making their way through mud and uprooted trees to reach to those who have been stranded. Vehicles swept off the roads were seen stuck in a swollen river. Rescuers were working to pull out people stuck under mud and debris, but their efforts were hampered by blocked roads and unstable terrain. Elsewhere, approximately 50 Wagner fighters in a convoy were killed in an Al-Qaeda ambush, which was joined by rebels in pursuit along the border with Algeria. This is according to Wasim Naz, a Sahel specialist and senior research fellow at the Sufan Center, a security think tank, who said he counted bodies in a video of the aftermath. The mercenaries had been fighting mostly Tuareg rebels alongside Mali's army when their convoy was forced to retreat into jihadi territory and ambushed south of the commune of Tinzaoten. Wagner confirmed in a telegram statement on Monday that some of its fighters as well as Malian troops were killed in a battle with hundreds of militants. The mercenary group did not say how many of its fighters were killed. However, Mali's army said it lost 2 soldiers and 20 rebels were killed. And over to Morocco, where 3 Moroccan journalists, Omar Radi, Touafik Bouachrin, and Suleiman Raisuni, were among 2,278 people pardoned this week, according to Morocco's Ministry of Justice. The pardons were announced as Morocco prepared to celebrate its national holiday, marking the 25th anniversary of when Mohammed VI ascended to the throne. Moroccan law affords the king, as head of state, the power to grant such pardons, which apply to the journalists' prison sentences, but not to the civil penalties or the money that courts ordered them to pay their accusers. The journalists were freed from prison in Tifelt, a town east of Rabat, to a group of aesthetic supporters. Human rights activists applauded the pardons but said the move didn't exonerate what they have called the politically motivated manner in which Moroccan authorities pursued and prosecuted the journalists. It is on that foreign note that we pull the curtains on this edition of Divine Mercy Prime. But before we go, we remind you of our top stories. Catechists of the parishes across the Diocese of Boya continue a one-week retreat at Birokol here in Boya. The retreat that ends on August 2nd looks at the ministry of the catechist in the church. Reverend Father Anselm Kebi, Diocesan Youth Chaplain, calls on members of St. Stephen Guild to keep a positive mindset in serving God. That was over the weekend in Mutengene. And today is International Day Against Human Trafficking. Focus of this 10th edition is on the fight against trafficking of children. Many thanks for your keen and kind attention. I have been Samailin for a presentation. Just stay tuned to more amazing programs coming up tonight on DMR TV. Up next is Mountain Acres. Until tomorrow, stay blessed.